Is it counting down?
No, we're good now, I think.
Welcome back to the Ghost and Friends YouTube channel. My name's Clint. On Twitter known as NBA Hornboy, and I'm here with Pack. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, man. Just here. Let's just talk some Texas. Just played San Jose State. Came out with the win 38-7. Curious, just some quick thoughts just on you that you have of that game. Just what we did good, what we did bad, and what you wish we'd have maybe done different.
Yeah, so I thought the passing game was a little bit more consistent. Felt like Arch took some right strides. Obviously, still a lot of things you got to clean up, whether it's from an offensive line, discipline standpoint, Arch playing on time, being accurate with the football, all different things that you kind of continue to want to improve upon. But you saw some improvements in terms of how the passing game looked, and how he was going through reads and whatnot. And then defensively, another pretty good performance. Pass rush looked a little bit better. Coverage, you saw some guys getting open, but nothing to really punish you there. So just in general, an improvement. Got to keep making improvements, though. Got to do a lot of different things at a higher level going forward. And I think that starts first and foremost with being more disciplined. You can't have almost 90 or 100 yards of penalties in a game in SEC play. That'll really kill you.
Yeah, I agree, man. You pretty much hit the nail on the head on everything. Things I liked from the game. Obviously, number one, I mean, you know very well that I've been very high on Parker Livingstone ever since he came in, and I think um, even though many of the two touchdowns they got weren't necessarily anything super spectacular, didn't have to do too much. I still think that him having the performance he did was really good for us and gave us at least some hope at the receiver position for now. Um, I I liked our defense, even though at times that we kind of gave up too many yards, we gave up too many long drives, and we're killing ourselves a lot with especially the penalty game, the undisciplined play, which I'll get to later with the low lights. I liked liked the defense, and I think Arch played a little bit better. I think he played better than the last game. I still am worried though when it comes to his progressions and his how long it takes for him to make decisions in the pocket, because you saw many times, and we even saw this in the Ohio State game, where he rolls out and he has a wide open running lane, and he's still looking for a receiver to be open, and he can't decide. And once he waits too long, the running lane's going to close, and the connection with the receiver might not be there. So it'll be something he'll improve on. And then also, I feel like our pass rush is just we're getting there. It's just we can't execute and make the sack or make the play that we need. There were many times I saw, whether it was one of the tackles or one of the edges get to the backfield, and they just slip, and Eggett was able to break free. Um, so those are just little things that we need to clean up on, I think. But that's what you have these games for, so that you can learn your identity as a team and learn what you truly need to fix and what you can probably lean on for the rest of the season. Um, Anything else you have to add to that or not? Okay. Little preview for next week's game. We play UTEP 3:30 in Austin. What are your initial thoughts on that game? Like, what's your score prediction? What do you want to see us improve on? And just anything else you have to say about that game?
Yeah, I'm a lot to little. Texas should win by a lot. Three things that I'm looking to see improve. One, I want to see Arch continue to be a bit more mechanically clean. I want to see him play more on time. I don't want to see him being late on reads or staying on a first read for too long. I want to see him actually getting through progressions, feeling a little bit more comfortable. I'd like to see the wide receivers do a better job of separating and then catching the ball. Specifically talking about Ryan Wingo, who K7 brought up. And then you'd like to continue to see the secondary play well. You want to see them being sticky in coverage, making good reads, swarming to the football. Those are the three things that I'm really looking forward to see next week and hoping to see improvement upon.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. Score prediction I'm going to give just before I get into what my hopes are. I could see maybe around I just want to see us at least break the 40 mark against UTEP. Thought we would have been able to against San Jose, but didn't. But yeah, biggest thing I want to see, obviously Arch. I want to see his improvement with that. I want to see him make quicker decisions. I want to see better accuracy on a lot of those balls because even last game he was solving problem with even like the basic crossers that you should be able to make as a quarterback with a clean pocket. I want to see him make quicker decisions, and I also want to see him be more confident when he rolls out. I want to see him when he rolls out, either you're deciding to run or you're deciding to pass, and just be confident in yourself and not second guess yourself every single play. I want to see our running game improve. I think that a lot of times with the run blocking, which going back to last game, we seem to get beat a lot on the inside. I noticed a lot, like there were a good amount of inside zone plays that worked for 7 to 10 yards, but a lot of the times we got beat, whether it was Connor Stroh, Cole Hudson. A lot was on the left side, and then also Brandon Baker. I want to see him. I want to see him be able to get more out on the screens because I noticed a lot on the screen game that the blocks that he was supposed to be making that were he was assigned to, he just couldn't get out there in time, and the play was blown up before it could even have a chance to be anything. So hopefully all that gets fixed. But yeah, back to the UTEP game. Hopefully Baxter can continue to improve. I want to see Christian Clark get a lot more playing time. Do you know the situation on Wisner's injury?
I believe it's a lower body one. I don't know the specifics of it though.
I was more so like asking like in terms of
Oh yeah, he'll be fine for like it's more of a precautionary thing.
Yeah.
Keeping him out until like Florida, because you don't need him in these games. There's no reason to risk putting more strain on a muscle or on a bone and potentially exacerbating something.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like especially since of the caliber opponents we have for the next two games in the bye week we have, I don't think you risk getting any of your potential star players injured before Florida. And I think the last thing I'd really want to see is when I was going through UTEP's offense earlier, the type that they run a heavy pass game. I saw that, from what I was able to gather, they run some more of an air raid offense, and I think that'd be a perfect opportunity to see a lot of the DBs. DBs have a good game. Would like to see some of the younger guys get in and see what they're able to do. Want to be able to continue to see Grayson Littleton. He's been impressing me so far this season. Malik and just everyone else on that DB room just have a big game. And yeah, I mean, not really too much to go into just because, I mean, no disrespect to UTEP, but there's not too much to cover in that realm. Let's see. What do we think about this pack?
I'm not sure. Like, I don't know how Ricky Stewart's looked in practice. I think that comes like if he can hold on to the football, yeah, I would say. If he can hold on to the football, yeah, because that's a real problem with Gibson right now. And you can't really play him during SEC play because he can't hold on to the football right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's been his biggest issue ever since he's been here. He's shown he has the ability to be a good runner. He makes a lot of effort on the runs and can get the extra yards we need him to. It's just his ability to hold onto the ball. But getting into the other part of the show, we decided to look through five of the big games this week and really dive into the matchups that there's going to be and what our thoughts are going to be for these matchups. We'll start out with Georgia versus Tennessee in Knoxville. Pack, I'll let you take the lead on that since Georgia is somewhat your bread and butter.
Yeah, so primarily, I think the more interesting part of the conversation is actually what Georgia's offense against Tennessee's defense is going to look like, because we kind of know what Georgia's going to do defensively. The past 2 years, they've run a bunch of different stuff. On first down, you've seen a decent amount of them playing an odd stack, so playing 3 down and then playing with 3 backers and then playing 3 high. You saw a decent amount of 3 down, 3 high, or what they call mint 3 high. You saw some cover 2 Tampa. You saw a lot of quarters. They kind of do what they do against Tennessee. It's predicated around stopping the box with light boxes, which is already what Georgia is built around. They like to play with minus counts and cancel gaps and stack fit their linebackers. So that's something that already naturally works with them. I'm not sure much changes for them on Saturday in that regard. I think the more interesting part is, especially with how Stockton looked last Saturday, it wasn't a great performance, right? Like if you watch the tape, there's a decent amount of turndowns on there. There's balls where he's late. He's not throwing with anticipation. There's a bunch of times where if you do that in SEC play, you'll really struggle to score points. So to me, if Tennessee can stop the run, I think it becomes a really interesting game. If they can force Gunnar Stockton to play within the pocket and really have to go through reads and process and make good decisions, I'm not sure that's a great avenue for success for Georgia. But if Tennessee can't stop the run, I don't know that this game is going to be very competitive, because if Georgia can just run the ball and play Stockton as a game manager, they'll take that every day because you're not going to score many points on that defense right now. Their linebacker room is playing at a really high level. They're consistently reading the right keys. They're getting to the ball. They're playing well in coverage. Those are all things that you kind of have to worry about if you're a Tennessee offense. So then on the other side, it's, can Tennessee keep the game close? Can they muster some stops? Can they stop the run? And can they force Stockton into maybe some turnovers because he is late or because he's not seeing the field properly?
Yeah, man. Do you have a score prediction for that first before I go?
Yeah, I'm going to go Georgia 21-17.
All right. So when I was looking at this game, and also talking to people, just in the Georgia and Tennessee community, their thoughts on everything. I think this game's gonna be close. I think my preseason talk about Joey Aguilar, I did not expect him to be as good as he's been so far, and seeing how the offense for Tennessee has been the past 2 weeks. Granted, the opponents may not have been the best, but Georgia hasn't played any necessarily great opponents either. I think it's gonna be a very close game. I think another one of the big things, other than the Georgia run game and Tennessee's ability to stop it, I think also will be the matchup between Georgia's receivers and Tennessee's DBs. Namely, how Jermon McCoy is going to play and how Zachariah Branch is going to play during that game. I am very interested to see how that ends up turning. And I think that if you're Tennessee, then that you need to make Gunnar Stockton beat you through the air. He hasn't really proven, at least to me, he hasn't proven yet that he can really beat you in the passing game. That he's a real world beater in that sense. I think that Georgia's defense, though, is gonna be really good. I think they have one of the, if not the best linebacking core in the country. I mean, Chris Cole that dude's a dog. And I don't know. I was very split on this game. I could see either team winning. I have the score 23-20. As of now, though, I might go Tennessee just because. I mean, just because of how 50-50 I am, and I think Neyland Stadium is going to be rocking that day. I think Gunnar Stockton. I don't think he's had a road start yet. Yeah, his first road start being in Neyland, I think, could be a big game changer. And I mean, I think it's gonna be a good game either way. But I have Tennessee winning that one. For the next game, we'll go to South Florida versus Miami this week in Miami. I'll start this one out. Past 2 weeks, South Florida's beaten 2 top 25 teams, handled Boise State pretty good, and came out in the final seconds against Florida. Obviously, their star player being Byron Brown, he's been the workhorse on offense for them. May not be the best passer in the world, but his running game has been able to be sufficient enough for them to get these 2 wins the past 2 weeks. I don't think that continues, though, against Miami. I think Miami's front seven is very good. I think that not only that, but also we did see South Florida's defense play really good in these past 2 games. I think Carson Beck, though, that receiving core, and just the overall offense they have, I think it's going to be too much for South Florida to continue the win streak that they have. I still think South Florida for the rest of the year is going to be a contender for the Group of 5 playoff spot. I think they definitely have the capabilities to do that, but I think this Miami team is a lot better than Florida's team is this year. I think that overall it's going to be too much for them to handle, and I think they would have to have everything in the world go right for them to win this game. I think it won't be a blowout, but right now I have Miami winning 38-24 and Carson Beck having a big day.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think to a certain extent, Florida might have looked at that UCF game as they looked over it, right? Because they have LSU this week. I don't think you're going to see Miami do that, especially after UCF just beat Florida. I think UCF will get all of all of Miami's undivided attention. And I think Miami's just a more talented team. And if they're locked into that game, I don't see a path for them to lose. Like you said, I think they've got a really good front seven. I'm a big fan of Carson Beck. I think he does a really good job of playing on time, throwing with anticipation. Outside of last year, I thought he did a really good job of protecting the football too. So I'm with you on that. I think Miami wins something like 27-17, 27-13, something like that.
No, man. Yeah, the last point you made about Carson Beck. I mean, last year you saw him getting scrutinized all over social media just because, unfortunately for him, his offense that he was put in, he wasn't put in the best spot. The receivers that he had to work with, I think that team led the country in drops, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I mean, and even looking back at the 2 Texas games that they played versus us and that first half of the SEC championship versus that Carson Beck played, there were a lot of good throws that he made on third downs that could have continued the drive, but whether it was Dylan Bell,
Arian Smith,
or forgot the other dude's name, but
a lot of drops. Like right now, I can think of 2 drops from that SEC championship game right now, where Arian Smith drops a dig because he's jumping up, and then Dylan Bell has one go off his face mask on a slot fade. So yeah, you make a good point that last year it wasn't all Carson Beck. And so I think Miami's done a good job of insulating him. I like their wide receiver room. So yeah, I agree with you. I think Miami's a good team. I think they're a really good team, and I think they're gonna win this weekend.
Sure, man. All right, so next game we're gonna go to is actually speaking of Florida, we're going to do Florida versus LSU in Death Valley. This game's going to be don't know what time, but Pack, I'll let you take the first shot of this one. So
yeah. I mean, this is a tough one to kind of like think about just because Florida just get beat at home by UCF. So you don't really know what type of performance you're going to get out of them. You don't know if they've laid down and they're going to let LSU stop them, or if they're going to be rejuvenated and look to kind of reinvigorate their season. And that'll tell you a lot. Like the first 10 minutes of that game probably will decide what Florida we're going to see. If they're down 14 nothing, I think that game is going to end up being a blowout, and they're going to have a really tough season. But if you see them kicking and scratching and fighting, I think you're going to end up with a really close game, and you don't know which way it'll go because it sounds like Florida is going to get Caleb Banks back, and he's a really good defensive tackle for them. He's going to do a good job of helping them stop the run along with Tyree Sapp. So if LSU can't run the ball, does Nuss make some mistakes in the pass game? We saw this a lot last year when LSU wasn't able to run the ball. You saw Nuss throw a lot of turnovers. A&M comes to mind. Florida, I believe he threw 2 picks. Ole Miss in a win, he threw 2 picks, but was something like 22 of 50. So when they can't run the ball, it's not like it's picture perfect for Nuss. You do tend to see a little bit of those struggles. So if Florida can stop the run, it might be a little interesting to see how Nuss looks, especially against a good pass rush. And then the other side, can LSU stop the run? Because we saw DJ Lagway last week. It wasn't all perfect. The interception where he's rolling right and throwing to a post going to his left was an egregiously bad decision. You saw him miss guys. You saw him being accurate. You saw him being late. All signs of a guy who didn't play over the summer, as it's well understood by that foot, calf, shoulder injury that he's been dealing with. So can LSU stop the run and force DJ Lagway to have to throw the ball a lot? So in like typical football fashion, it's who can stop the run. I think both teams are going to be able to stop the run. Funny enough, I think Florida is going to do a better job of stopping the run. But I think that just because it's in Death Valley and because I think LSU is just the better team, I'll take LSU to win.
All right, man. I agree with you right there. I think that I think LSU will come out on top, and I do agree that you could see a totally pissed off Florida team that they know that they still have the opportunity to rebound their season. You saw Notre Dame do it last year after losing to Northern Illinois, but yeah, early in that game we'll really see we'll really see what Florida team we're going to see for the rest of the season. Thanks for the super chat, Kuyon. What does LSU need to do to run the ball?
Yeah, so I think it starts with it depends on if you're going to run a lot of inside zone, one, you have to do a good job of fanning out on stunts. You have to do a good job communicating. You have to do a lot of different things to try to change the picture for Florida. You can't always line up in shotgun from a 4 open picture and try to run it down their throat. You're going to have to be versatile in your run game. You're going to have to show some outside zone. You're going to have to show some counter. You might have to get your wide receivers involved and get them moving east and west. Especially UCF used a lot of QB run, and they had decent success doing that where they were making Florida's linebackers have to look at a lot. They were seeing motion going one way, and then they were seeing a running back go the other, and then they were running the quarterback down the middle and like bash. So you're not going to be able to do that with Nuss, obviously, but you can do that with motion with Aaron Anderson or Barry and Brown. You just want to get those Florida linebackers seeing a bunch of different things, try to get them misaligned, get them with bad eyes. Because I think Florida's D line is good enough to just stop the run, but if you can force their linebackers into tough spots and force them to see different things, you'll be able to run the ball.
Yeah, I think that the running game is going to be the biggest. It's going to be the biggest factor to tell what game we're going to get. I think I watched a lot of LSU this past week and before, and I I came away very uninspired by their offense, to say the least. Even against Louisiana Tech last week, and we saw a lot of great teams struggle this past week. It's not like they were the only ones, but I mean, they were struggling to get the ball in the end zone versus Louisiana Tech, and I mean, I saw Nuss make a terrible throw, and I think it was a deep shot on the sideline. I don't know who it was to, but I mean, it was way underthrown, and I mean, it just play got blown up immediately. And I think whoever's going to be the best in the running game is going to win. I think also Florida, when they get in pressure situations, now we only saw this once. I think they can get very undisciplined. We saw that this past week. They had a similar penalty numbers to Texas. They had like 12 penalties for 105 yards. I mean, on that last drive, you can't get an unsportsmanlike by spitting in a player's face. I think they were about to be like on a 3rd and long too if he didn't do that. So it's just little mistakes like that you can't have happen. I think LSU is a more disciplined team. I think overall they're a better team. I think I like LSU's weapons a little bit more, and I personally think that the Florida team that we're going to see, I think that they will be in it for like a couple minutes, and I think it could get out of hand and them get some late touchdowns. I have it 27-17, but I think the game's going to be a lot farther apart than the score says it's going to be. For the fourth game, oh wait, do you have anything to add on to that or no?
Yeah, answering Yap's question, if you guys had to pick one guy to lead your squad, who you taking? Right now, Mateer. I watched that OU Michigan tape. He was playing on time. He was accurate. He was escaping when he needed to. I'll take that over what I've seen from Arch right now, where I've seen him stare down one read. I haven't seen him get through his reads, get to the second concept or the third concept enough for me to trust him in a big game. So give me Mateer. I think he's a gamer. Like you're not always going to see him. You're not always going to see him make the best decisions, but you just kind of trust him. Like you know that he's going to do something to win you a football game. And right now, Arch isn't consistent enough from a down to down basis, and he's not giving you that extra gamer feel that Mateer is. So I'd take Mateer right now.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know about as well as anyone that in the preseason I was not very high on Mateer. I watched his tape from Washington State, and I felt a lot of times from what I saw that he did get bailed out a good amount by his receiving core, which they had an amazing receiving core last year. I'm pretty sure 2 of those players went to the NFL, but I could be completely wrong. But I mean, he's proven me wrong this entire season. Even though the first game was against Illinois State, I mean, for your first start to throw for, I mean, he was just like 8 yards short of 400 yards, and I think he has the record for debut start for an Oklahoma quarterback. And then last week, I mean, he made some amazing plays. He looked like he looked very good. I mean, I think he's going to be a very good player for the rest of the year. I think obviously it's 2 games. You can't make a whole season out of that, but I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up being like in the Heisman conversation or possibly a finalist at the end of the year. He just reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield, just with his mannerisms, how he plays the game, his abilities, and I mean he's going to be a very good player for this year. And I would much rather have Mateer than Arch right now, which I think Arch could become really good. He could improve, but I mean, yeah, as to what you were saying, he's staring down receivers. That was something I noticed a lot. It was especially one route. I think it was like a check down or something. From the moment the ball was snapped, he stared at the running back. I think it was Baxter. He stared at Baxter the entire play and just got blown up right when the ball got to him. So, yeah, Mateer's trusting himself more. He's making his full progressions, and I would take Mateer. All right. Let me just go to this comment from Kuyon real quick. Our run game has been horrid with talented backs. O-line talent, I don't believe, is a huge issue. Brad Davis and Joe Sloan, questionable play calling.
I can take this one. Last year, I felt like it was a little bit of O-line talent, especially from the center guard. That seemed like a real weakness last year. And even from like a pass protection standpoint, that interior wasn't great. This year, it can be a little bit of both. It can just be sometimes you're not executing, you're not doing a good job getting to blocks, you're not doing a good job passing stuff off. You're playing with bad technique, your running backs aren't playing with great vision. And some of it can just be bad play calling where you're not getting into the right runs against certain fronts, or you're trying to do one thing and it doesn't work with how your O line is. Like last year, that was an offensive line for Texas that had to play outside zone. They were better in space. They were more athletic. And this year, they're a little bit more powerful. They're a little bit more downhill. So Texas, in response, is playing a lot more inside zone. So that could be it. It could be we're not, as a staff, you're not doing a good enough job of playing to your players' strengths and just doing what you're comfortable with. But it could also be execution. It's always hard to say on stuff like that.
All right, well said, man. All right, let's move on to the fourth game. We'll do Clemson versus Georgia Tech. This one's going to be in Atlanta. I can start this one off. So Clemson, the past two games, obviously we covered this earlier while talking about LSU. Lost 17-10 at home, and even last week against Troy in the first half, they were struggling. It looked like that they weren't going to move the ball at all. It looked like that they might get upset by Troy at home. And like I've said for all these games, I get it's early season, but I don't know what the issue is. I can't really pinpoint it, to be completely honest. I think that their offense, it's looked inefficient. It's looked very sloppy at times. I think that also the way Georgia Tech's offense is from what I've seen, they really just drive down the field on you. Almost similar to like obviously it's not like an Army or Navy type of offense because it's not triple option, but they're a type of offense that wants to keep you in the mud and make it a dogfight and just run it down the field the entire time and kind of just tire out the defense a lot. And I think Haynes King is literally he's a perfect quarterback for that. I think Haynes King's throwing ability also has improved greatly throughout the years. I think that also with the added talent with Eric Singleton Eric Singleton left. All right. Anyways, still got Jamal Haynes. Not Jamal Haynes.
No, it is. It is Jamal Haynes.
Okay. Jamal Haynes. Either way, I think that their running game is going to be very good. I think that Klubnik also, I think he will have a better game than he's had. I think he will bounce back and the offense will make a lot of strides this week. I think that it's going to be a very close game, as with all these games that we've talked about. But I think at the end of the day, I don't know if Clemson's offense will do enough to pull them out. I haven't seen them really be able to execute like I thought they were going to at the beginning of the season. I mean, they had coming to the season like what was talked about one of the top receiving cores in the country, and a passing game that was supposed to be very lethal, and just we haven't seen any of that. Now, granted, LSU game, I think LSU's defense is greatly improved, but I think at the end of the day, I think Georgia Tech will win. I have the upset there. I have them winning 31-27 just because I think the Georgia Tech offense is going to be able to move the ball, and I think that they're going to get the necessary plays needed to win the game. But yeah, I'll let you go now.
Yeah, I have a similar kind of viewpoint to this game as you do. I think that Georgia Tech I think it's kind of interesting because they have two quarterbacks that they'll play. They have Haynes King, who I don't believe played last week. So is Aaron Philo, and he played really well. I think he had something like 400 yards, and he was 75% completion percentage. So I think that, and I really like their OC, Buster Faulkner. I think he's really good. And the stuff with the Clemson offense, I couldn't agree more. They're just not executing right now. Klubnik looks a lot more like he did early in the season last year, where He's not seeing it very well. He's leaving pockets too early. He's not letting plays develop. He's panicking. He's making bad decisions, and those aren't great signs heading into conference play for them. I think Georgia Tech's playing some good football right now. And in games like this, I just trust Georgia Tech's offense a little more than I trust Clemson's right now, especially after I just watched them really struggle against Troy. So I'll take Georgia Tech.
You got a score prediction for that, or just
No, I couldn't tell you. I probably like a low scoring game, something like 23-17, 23-20. But yeah, that's a tough one.
all right, man? Well, we're on to our final game now. And my eyes, what I see is the game of the week, 6:30 on ABC. We got
NBC, you mean?
at NBC. Yeah, you're right. My bad. We have number 16 Texas A&M going to number 8 Notre Dame in South Bend. I think that this game is really going to depend on two things, and these two things only. Obviously, not only, but these are going to be the biggest factors. The biggest factor for me is going to be if A&M can stop Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love. I've watched a lot of A&M this year, and from what I saw in their games versus UTSA and Utah State, they had a lot of trouble when it came to stopping the run. The UTSA game, they gave up, I think it was on 11 or 12 rushes, 170 rushing yards to UTSA's running back. Coming out of halftime, first play they gave up a 75-yard rush touchdown. I mean, the linebackers they're not getting to the gaps that they need to get to. The D line has been very mediocre from what I've seen, and their pass rush has been good, but in the run game, it's not been anything inspiring whatsoever. And I am concerned for them in that sense. I also think the second biggest factor is going to be how Marcel Reed does on the road, because we've seen flashes of Marcel Reed being good. We saw it versus LSU. We saw it versus even in a loss versus Auburn. He was very good, but the other road games, Florida, he played good in his first start, but like South Carolina, for example, he crumbled in that game towards the end, and I don't know how he's going to do against a team like Notre Dame, where their defense is still very solid. I mean, Marcus Freeman is a very good defensive mind. I don't even know how to explain it. I think their corners are really good too. That's the other biggest part for me. With the wide receivers for A&M, that matchup. Casey Conception and Mario Craver have been really good so far, and with Conception being their biggest guy. But I don't know if they'll be able to get the separation they need. I think they will. I think Marcel can also make the plays needed. I think if they come into the game, and I think if they are able to stop Notre Dame and CJ Carr throughout the first and second quarter, I think that A&M can pull away with this game. Not pull away, but win. I think also for CJ Carr, with his second start being A&M, I mean, he's not getting eased into college football at all. He had to play the number 5 team in the country right now last week, and now he's having to play A&M, who's not any easy game at all. And they'll be ready for CJ, and they won't make it easy. I don't know how he's going to handle that. Thankfully for them, it's at home, but I think he'll still make young mistakes like every quarterback does. And I think if A&M can stop the run, I think if they can stop the run, they'll win. I don't know if they will, but I think as of now, just because I've seen A&M's offense up close, I've seen it really shine throughout both the games that they played. The running game has been decent. Le'Veon Moss still looks as good as he did last year, and the passing game has opened up a lot more. Plus, the O-line's been improved by a lot. So I think A&M's actually going to end up coming out with this win. I think that they're going to end up winning 23-21, and I think it's all just going to come down to A&M's ability to stop the run game, B, CJ Carr's ability to stay calm and make the right decisions, and C, the A&M's wide receiver matchup versus the Notre Dame defensive backs.
Yeah, I agree with you on the run game stuff on both sides, especially in that Miami game. There was definitely moments where Miami was getting some push on that Notre Dame D line where they were able to impose their will, create gaps, get downhill, reset the line of scrimmage. And so if Miami can do that, you think A&M can now again. Miami does have a very good O-line, so it might just be Miami's got one of the top 5 O-lines in the room, and Notre Dame's still very good on the defensive line, but that's something to watch out for. And then on the other side, if A&M can stop the run, we saw what that Miami defensive line was able to do to Notre Dame on pass down situations. The last 2 plays of the game kind of exemplified that Notre Dame O-line performance where back-to-back sacks and the game ended. And Notre Dame and A&M's got some really good pass rushers, whether it's Sam Mpemba or Cassius Howell or DJ Hicks inside. They've got some good players back there. So I think if A&M can stop the run, I really like A&M's chances of winning. On the other side, Notre Dame was able to somewhat contain Miami, but again, like we talked about, there was some push, there was some resetting of the line of scrimmage, and if A&M can run the ball, they'll win because they're not going to have to ask Marcel Reed to do a whole lot. They can be heavy on play action and really work towards what Marcel Reed is really good at, and kind of keep him clean. But if Notre Dame can stop the run, I like Notre Dame's corners more than I like A&M's wide receivers. I think that Leonard Moore, Christian Gray are really good DBs. There's an argument that Leonard Moore, who's now a sophomore, is the best corner in the country. So especially in bump and run man, I think that can give A&M real problems. Now, against Miami, Notre Dame didn't exclusively run man coverage. You actually saw a good amount of zone. You saw some quarters in there. You saw some cover 3. They were fairly multiple in what they were doing. And so I imagine you're going to see more of that, trying to continuously change the picture on Marcel Reed, make him really see the field and make good decisions where against Texas last year, it felt like a real struggle for him. Even before that game, I made a note when I wrote in a preview that he was a one read and leave guy. He was late a lot. He didn't throw with touch or anticipation. And so if Notre Dame can force him to really see the field and have to do all those things, they can win the game. But like you, I trust Notre Dame. I trust A&M's ability to stop the run and run the ball more than I trust Notre Dame's. So even though it's at Notre Dame, I'll take A&M to win, and I'll take them to win a pretty low scoring game, 21-20.
Yeah, man. I mean, I agree with everything you said. And one point that I forgot to tackle, I think you kind of tackled a bit, was the tackles that Notre Dame has, how much they got beat versus Miami. Now, granted, you were telling me this, that Miami's D line is very good and their edges are very good. But like you also said, the A&M has some really good edges. They have some really good pass rushers. I mean, you saw last week, and it was Utah State, but Cassius Howell got 3 straight sacks on 3 straight plays. I mean, I get some that was the quarterback, some was it was not on the O-line, but it's not an easy thing to do to get 3 straight sacks. And they were able to put a lot of pressure on Owen McCown too whenever they played UTSA at home. But it's going to be their first real test, and I think they'll still be able to execute. Though I think CJ Carr is going to get pressured a lot, and I think he is going to make a lot of the same mistakes that he did. Even though he scored that touchdown where he went back 20 yards against Miami, you can't just be doing that during games because it's going to come back to bite you. He was lucky that one didn't get picked off or something bad happened. So I think it's going to be a run game, and then CJ Carr. I don't know what we're going to see from him, and I just don't know about this game completely, to be honest. Because I also think A&M could completely give up on the run game, and Notre Dame could have a track race with that game, but I think A&M will come on top. All right. Anybody in chat have anything y'all want us to cover before we go? CJ Carr ain't getting pressured if A&M can't stop the run.
Kind of. Like if you start to see A&M run more like 5-man pressures or like have to play gapped out and play more like blitz coverage, you might see a little bit more pressures where if they can't stop the run with light boxes, it might just be we're going to pressure them on every down, and we're going to play with 9-man run fit spacing. So only the corners are out of the run fit and everyone else is in it. And if you do that, you tend to blitz a little bit more. That's what Pitt does, and they run what is known as press quarters, which is just blitz coverage. So I think like in like a real like technically yes, but if A&M is going to pressure in order to stop the run, then you're going to see them pressure on regular downs too. So
all right. We already talked about this, Lando. I had Georgia Tech, and I think did you also have Georgia Tech?
Yep.
Yeah. Both have Georgia Tech in that game. I don't see anything else. Anything else that you wanted to mention or talk about?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching. We should be back next Tuesday around the same time with a recap of UTEP and then talking about
We'll recap pretty much every game
Yeah.
because if you look ahead to that next week, the 20th, it's not a whole lot of good games we're gonna see. So Tuesday, I'll bring some film. Clint and I will break it down. We'll talk everything about that Georgia Tennessee game. We'll talk LSU Florida. We'll go over what happened in UCF Miami, and we'll obviously talk about A&M and Notre Dame, and then we'll talk about whatever you guys want us to. But yeah.
All right, man. 1 second. I'm just checking if there's any games for us to talk about next week. Auburn, Oklahoma. I think that could be a good one to talk about. But yeah, glad Dad let y'all drive. All right. Thanks for being here, Joshy. Thank y'all for watching. Like I said, we'll be back next Tuesday, and we'll be back pretty much every week to recap the games and look forward to the next one. Thank y'all for watching. We'll be back. All right. Took 'em.